This is all you need. This is, ladies and gentlemen, proof of corruption. I know what you're thinking. Why the question mark? You've got it. You've been saying this whole time. The evidence is everywhere. Did I'll ever play any of the Ken Paxton impeachment trial? No, I haven't done that because there's not like clips of it. I have to pull them on my own, and that's a lot. But I would love to at some point, but yeah. So, proof of corruption? And as Can't Stop Line pointed out, Glenn is all in on the put your face in it, do a little cutout outline, and then just shocked face. People click on shocked faces. If you really look at, I mean, honestly, if you go on YouTube, honestly, anytime, you'll see if people will like, they go, oh my God, that person is outraged. I have to watch outrage video. Look at the face. Right? Proof of corruption? Question mark. Biden, Ukrainian flag. Huh? Well, hey, if you got proof, fucking bring it. I've been waiting for everybody to call me on it. You know, he's probably got the laptop right there. He needs a red arrow. That's true. There needs to be like a down arrow, that kind of shit. Absolutely. So I'm, you know me. Hey, I've been right. I think far too many times. At this point, wait, I know I have it here somewhere.
Man, I'm tired of being right.
Right. So, I could go with a break from being right all the fucking time. You know what I mean? It's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure on my shoulders. It's a lot to deal with. I don't know. Maybe it's just too much. Sometimes I gotta be wrong. Just so I see some of these videos. It's like that scene in Rocky IV. He's talking to his son, and his son goes, "Are you scared?" And he goes, "Maybe just a little bit. Wouldn't you be?" And he goes, "If a big giant man was trying to beat me up, I'd be real scared." He goes, "Well, sometimes I'm in there, and I kind of wish this guy would hit me right on the chin, and I wouldn't feel nothing, But then there's another voice inside me that wants to go that extra round, wants to take it, and going that extra round makes all the difference in your life." Which he's saying to his kid when this giant Russian might kill him, or they might poison him while he's in Russia. That's another conversation for another time as well. But I always like that monologue. And where was I? Oh, yes. That, sometimes I wish, one of these people just, hit me on the metaphorical chin with some info. Maybe this is it. Look at this. I don't know about this title. I don't know about it. There it is. I don't even know why they put a fucking question mark in the thumbnail. Maybe that's just marketing as well. Thanks. I haven't really I haven't worked on my Stallone, but I could. New evidence proves Biden lied about Ukraine corruption. Well, shit. Let's do it. Very excited about this. Let's see. Okay, here we go.
Now, there's something else that is happening.
Okay, I'm excited. Get ready, guys. Write it down. This is the day. Put it in your calendar. This is the day I get knocked off my perch.
I want to warn you.
Uh-oh. He's not wearing pants again.
That and also tell you this is
all right, but it's a warning, it's a telling, it's a tickling. Sure.
It's good news, but warn you, if you do not start to stand up, and I mean
I am officially standing. I got rid of my, sitting situation. God, it's been a while. It's been months. He's a little loud. Okay, sorry. I boosted it, so I apologize. I'll bring him down a touch.
Really stand up peacefully and make sure that your voices are heard in a chorus all over the.
And when he says heard, he means it.
The country.
Mm-hmm.
We will shortly fall into some sort of fascism, communism. I have no idea what it ends up being.
Yeah, communism, fascism, altruism, stoogeyism. It's possible. It ain't possible. Hey, do I have a halo? Oh, I modified my green screen a little bit because this shirt is almost see-through with the green screen. So I'll be a little, it'll be a little bit of particulate today. I apologize, but I'll fix it. I'll send it back to its original thing when I'm not wearing my new Metallica shirt tomorrow. Because I have a different one. Okay, here we go.
But it looks like fascism is coming.
Yeah. I mean, it looks like fascism. Quacks like fascism. It's fucking fascism.
And it's going to come faster and faster because...
Yes, because fascists, I don't know if you know this, big problem with premature ejaculation. Just saying. It's a common thing. I don't know if you knew this. Hitler only had one ball because he literally, like, one of them just popped, I think.
Because the Biden thing is falling apart. You're starting to see the corruption, and it's being proven now.
Oh, yeah. It's being proven. It's not proven, but it's being proven. I feel already he's hedging. I'm already let down. I'm already disappointed, Glenn. Very disappointed. All right.
The mainstream media is not paying attention to this.
Not paying attention to it's the being proven. They're waiting till it's actually proven, or that there is proof. But go ahead.
But once this starts to...
What do you think? What do you think the odds are he cites mainstream media at some point during this? What do you think the chances are? I'm just saying. I feel it. I can smell it. Do you smell it? Because I smell it.
To come out in open hearings.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think they're going to be able to avoid it. You'll see President Biden get sick, step down, something to keep this buried as much.
Right. Meanwhile, though, Donald Trump's got 91 charges against him. He's gonna do time for some of them, but he should just soldier on, right? Because that's evidence and indictments and grand juries have come together. But you don't. James Comer is on the case, people. Come on.
Much as possible, because it is getting really bad.
Oh, it's getting really bad. Let's hear it.
And it is showing that everyone is involved in it.
Oh, I'm involved. You're involved. I had no idea. What part was I supposed to play? Because I will leave. I know I'm running late. I will leave right now. Was I supposed to be the driver for the bag? Was I the bag man?
Biden's story had been that he threatened to withhold a loan to Ukraine only because the prosecutor Shokin was not meeting anti-corruption standards.
Right. Yes.
Do you remember this?
Oh, I remember it.
We found the audio during...
Whoa! Is he talking about these 17 audio recordings? Is there something? Oh, let's hear it.
The Trump impeachment.
Oh.
Where Biden openly said, yeah, I fired Shokin because he was a dirty, corrupt prosecutor.
Oh, I have not heard this audio where he's talking about, I fired Shokin because he was a dirty, corrupt prosecutor. He's nutty. Let's see.
And he was...
Play it.
He was doing all kinds of things wrong. Here's exactly what he said.
I'm desperately concerned about.
All right. Yes, this is the secret hot mic. Literally a hot mic, like literally live mic, because he's wearing a mic and he's on stage. You recognize as part of a over an hour's speech and conversation at the Council on Foreign Relations. All right. Yeah. I don't even know. Let's see.
Backsliding on the part of Kyiv in terms of corruption. They made, I'll give you one concrete example. I was,
yes,
but it just happened to be, that was the assignment I got. I got all the good ones. So I got Ukraine. And I remember going over convincing our team or others to convincing us that we should be providing for loan guarantees. And I went over, I guess, the 12th, 13th time to Kyiv, and I was supposed to announce that there was another $1 billion loan guarantee.
And by the way, we'll get to my favorite two words, but another billion. So he'd done this already. They'd gone there. They'd set lines on, okay, good. You're doing well. Here's another $1 billion. You're doing well. Why haven't you done this yet? We'll get to that.
I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they
By the way,
didn't. So they said they were walking out to press conference. I said, no, I said, I'm not going to, or we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I looked, I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a got fired. And
by the way, Glenn Beck has called people son of a bitch on the air before. Just saying.
they put in place someone who was solid.
Okay, stop.
At the time.
This is now provable lies on multiple levels. We now know.
Oh dear. Well, let's get at it. Provable lies on Shokin was never fired. Biden never went. There was never $1 billion. Multiple levels. Go for it.
That, what was it, a week before or 2 weeks before, his son was in a Burisma meeting talking about how that investigator, that prosecutor, was snooping into Burisma. And
No, that was not the conversation at all. That's not Devin Archer's testimony. Nobody said he was snooping. There was no snooping going on.
And asking questions about Hunter Biden.
Bullshit.
And also the guy who was...
Unless he's got something that shows that I'll, post it, knock yourself out. I want to see it. But from what I've read, and I'm pretty sure he's talking about the same shit I've seen. No.
Really corrupt, that ran it, an oligarch.
Zlevchevsky, I guess he's talking about.
So we now know that in this meeting, they went aside and first, Devin Archer said they called the president. Hunter called the president, or
no, he didn't.
Vice President Joe Biden, and they worked it out.
No, they called D.C. In theory, he wasn't there.
Then his attorney came back after break, and he's like, "Are you sure you know he called the vice president?" He's like, "No, he called somebody in Washington." Yeah, I stand corrected on that. Okay, so who did he call it?
By the way, I'm not even sure they've checked if Biden was even in Washington at that time.
In Washington, right. Because within 2 weeks, this incident happens where he goes and he says, "I want this guy fired." Now, he said, "You'll call the president." You can't do that. Yeah, I can't. Call the president. They never called the president. They should have called the president. We now know that the White House and the State Department said the exact opposite.
No. There is no point where the White House and the State Department thought Shokin was on the up and up, a good guy, and was doing a great job, or wasn't doing his job going after corruption. There's no, this is just goofy, but maybe he knows something I don't. Let's see. Okay, here we go.
Of what Joe Biden was saying.
No, they didn't.
Saying. Now there is new evidence. So we have the State Department communicating with the White House saying, this guy's doing a great job.
No, you don't.
Great job. He's meeting all of his...
Again, unless he's going to post an email that I haven't seen. This is another thing of Glenn Beck's paraphrasing of some subsidiary person in another department going, everything's okay, I guess, and turning it into, we love this guy. We love Shokin. Right. Or not even talking about Shokin, talking about the Ukrainian government making progress, but they still have ways to go, and Shokin's one of those ways to go.
Standards, we're clear. Okay. But everybody knew, according to Joe Biden, that it wasn't working.
Yeah.
That was their big sell when all of this came out, was that it wasn't just Joe Biden thought this. It was the consensus of all countries.
Yep.
All the civilized world understood that this guy was corrupt.
So we've had now the documents from the State Department saying that's not true. Mm-hmm.
Oh, dear. Documents from the State Department that Shokin is an innocent man, and he's been talked about where in the world? please feel free to show me these documents.
Okay, at the time, they're writing how great this guy's doing.
No, they never did.
And now we have evidence from the EU, where the EU concluded Shokin had met benchmarks on anti-corruption.
Oh, no. Oh, okay. So I see what's going on. All right. What Glenn is doing here is taking progress the government as a whole has made and targeting it to just Shokin. So there were, when the IMF and the US were deciding whether to give these ongoing billion-dollar loan guarantees, or in the case of the IMF, like large amounts of money, they were checking to make sure as they slow walk the money into the country, because at that point, the EU was standing up the entirety of the Ukrainian government, that they were meeting these points, and they were. But we're not, they have another one to do before we give them the next billion. And then they got to hit these benchmarks. They've done it for this one. They've done it for this one. They've done it for this one, we think, and yet it still hadn't happened. This is specifically, by the way, the thing about Shokin was that between the last $1 billion and this one, that was like they have a draft agreement of what they've got to do to guarantee that we keep giving them these installments of loan guarantees. And if they don't meet them, the money doesn't come. And so the idea is like, okay, here's the draft agreement. This is, I think John Solomon even put this on his website as evidence. And it's abundantly clear there, it's a draft agreement because they haven't met those standards yet. The assumption is they will, but they hadn't.
Reforms. In fact, it's pretty glowing what
it's glowing.
They write about him. Now, remember.
About him. About Shokin himself.
This narrative came out because.
It's the truth.
What did Donald Trump do?
He withheld offensive weapons from Ukraine to start up an investigation that he didn't care would actually be completed or actually be sound. He just wanted the dirt before he wanted the scent of corruption on Biden before the election. And to do that, he withheld weapons, which he had no right to do because the Congress had already allocated those weapons to Ukraine.
Donald Trump said, hey.
He just said, hey.
He calls up the president of Ukraine. I want you to find out what's going on because there is corruption.
By the way, no. There was nothing going on. There was, Hunter didn't work for fucking Burisma in 2020. Joe Biden wasn't in office in 2020. None of this. There was no, Zlochevsky had already left the country. He's disappeared. There was no ongoing corruption. As a matter of fact, Burisma is a functioning company now. It's above board. I need to know what's going on. There's so much corruption, allegedly 5 years ago or whatever.
With Biden, and I want you to look into it.
No. Oh, no. Glenn, no, he didn't want him to look into it. He wanted him to announce an investigation. And if you want these weapons, Rudy's going to tell you what you need to say. You need to go up to a podium and say, today we start an investigation into Joe Biden. You're going to fucking say that or I'm not sending the shit. You don't even have to have the investigation. You just have to say you are. That's what the call was about.
He knew that this was happening, okay? But what?
No, it wasn't. By the way, even if you believe it's true, which it isn't, it's not was happening, had happened. Had happened.
What do the Democrats do? They try to say, look, he's trying to get dirt on his possible opponent. Opponent. Wasn't his possible opponent, fuckhead. It was when Joe was running. In an election. That's election interference.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the press sold you. We told you.
Sorry, this is the year before. I'm getting my impeachment.
It wasn't true. We told you he's trying. Eventually, as we did our homework on this, during the trial, we laid it all out on a huge chalkboard and said, Biden is doing exactly what he's saying that Trump was doing.
No, he isn't. In any way. As a matter of fact, Biden would be doing the inverse, technically speaking, if indeed you thought he was committing the crime, which he wasn't.
And this whole firing of Shokin smells really bad.
Well, that's mostly Shokin, I got to tell you. If you look at the guy, you could tell from his diet and his general demeanor. He's a musty dude.
So at the time, Shokin was investigating the activities of Burisma.
No, he actually wasn't, and we'll get to that.
And Hunter Biden, who had no experience in the energy industry, yet he was.
Neither did Devin Archer, but you believe his testimony and you think Hunter's lying. And even Devin Archer said they didn't, Biden and Hunter never talk business. He got more money from Burisma than Hunter did. And Devin knows less about energy. He's a real estate guy. He knows less about energy, arguably, than Hunter does.
Is being paid at least $83,000 every month.
Right, as a shepherd for an investment fund.
The European Commission in new documents said, based on these commitments, the anti-corruption benchmark is deemed to have been achieved. This is from the governing body of.
Okay, I think I know what he's talking about.
Of anti-corruption.
All right, wait. So, if I may. Luckily, I've created. There we go. Let's see. Yeah, get this. And then here, because I was smart and I made a folder of stuff about this. Let's see. I even have a Notion page called Shokin Had to Go. All right, so this is what he's talking about. If I may, right here, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you. This is the thing he's referencing. This is actually from John Solomon's website, but this is the document that they're talking about. The U.S. loan guarantee proposed conditions precedent. This is sensitive but unclassified, this document. However, this was the proposed version of it, if you can see. Proposed conditions precedent. Okay. IMF program. This is the International Monetary Fund. And this is our working with them. Ukraine shall fulfill all IMF prior actions of economic reforms and macroeconomic policies necessary to obtain IMF board approval of the second review of the extended fund facility agreement or arrangement. Ukraine shall provide to USAID written verification of its intent to remain in compliance with the EFF arrangement. Okay. They shall affirm in writing that proceeds from the U.S. loan guarantees will contribute, and this is the document he's referencing. This is what they're going to do. This is what it has to do it. And on the second round, so far they're meeting the benchmarks. Had they gotten there yet? No, because Petro Poroshenko was still running the fucking joint, and they had a shit ton of corruption. Even Philip Bittner's told you about they're still dealing with the corruption to this day because that was the function of the Russian sock puppeting of their country. So the let's see, Prosecutor General's office. Here it is. Ukraine shall provide to USAID a comprehensive regulation adopted by the Prosecutor General, that would be Shokin, which ensures the independent operations of the Office of Inspector General of the Prosecutor General's office. The regulation shall clearly define the PGO IG's jurisdiction, powers, and authority to enable to perform its functions in a manner that is effective and credible, and that increases the accountability of the PGO to the public. The regulation shall be endorsed by the U.S. Department of Justice. So they still had to go through that step. And insofar as I know, they had not. But here's the fun part. All right. When Shokin got kicked out, this is March 29th, 2016. Okay, this is when this happened. This is the New York Times article about the fucking dude. This is not them covering for Biden, because at this point, he hadn't had this sit down in front of the CFR. Nobody cared. They've been talking about this dude for fucking months. Bowing to pressure from international donors, the Ukrainian parliament voted on Tuesday to remove a prosecutor general who had clung to power for months despite visible signs of corruption. Now, again, they voted. If it was just a matter of Poroshenko being pressured to do this, it'd be one thing. But the Ukrainian parliament held a vote, and it was 60-40, 70-30 to oust him. So yes, he was fired, but he was fired by the parliament, not even the president, not even the guy that Biden had on the phone at that, it was sitting with him, with Poroshenko. And Poroshenko didn't necessarily want him fired because, again, Shokin was the godfather of his kids, and they were in on it, essentially. They were together in a lot of this corruption, and that had been going on for years. He was under Lukashenko. He was one of the, he He'd been in government for a little while, and he was kind of like a natural Pez dispenser that was going on, right? Okay. But be careful what you. This is interesting because this was the take on the New York Times, because at this point, post Russia's invasion of the Donbass, they were like, all right, yeah, he's bad, but maybe somebody else worse could come in, and okay. So that's their take. Wasn't even smooth move. It was like, I don't know if this is going to be good. So listen to this. But in a be careful what you wish for a moment, veteran observers of the Ukrainian politics said that the prosecutor, Viktor Shokin, had played an important role in balancing competing political interests, helping maintain stability during a treacherous era in the divided country's history. Now, much like statements we've heard from the New York Times before, there's a big yeah but coming. And you'll see why. And I would like to remind you that Paul Manafort, the guy who became Donald Trump's campaign chairman and ran his campaign for free and hoped it would make him right with the Russians and all that shit, and was making money under the table, and it was multiple payments from Yanukovych's like when he was in Yanukovych's service. He didn't pay tax on what he ultimately went to jail for. He was up to his eyeballs in this, and in the case of Manafort, he was the guy who suggested setting up agents provocateur in the Euromaidan crowds to give the police and the military an excuse to fire into the crowd, killing hundreds of people. Okay. So this little guy right here is going to be a yeah but. The United States and other Western nations had for months. This is not an article written right now to cover Joe Biden's ass now that he's president. This is from 2016. Had for months called for the ousting of Mr. Shokin, who was widely criticized for turning a blind eye to corrupt practices and for defending interests of a venal and entrenched elite, Zlovchevsky. He was one of several political figures in Kiev whom reformers and Western diplomats saw as a worrying indicator of a return to past corrupt practices 2 years after a revolution that was supposed to stop the self-dealing by those in power. As the problems festered, Kiev drew increasingly sharp criticism from Western diplomats and leaders. In a visit in December, Vice President Joe Biden said corruption was eating Ukraine like a cancer. Christine Lagarde, the managing director of the International Monetary Fund, which props up Ukraine financially, said last month the progress was so slow in fighting corruption that it's hard to see how the IMF-supported program can continue. Just keep the timing of this important. This is in March when he gets fired. Yes, the U.S. is dumping money into Ukraine, as is the IMF, and a bunch of it. Well, you'll see. With the pressure mounting, the Parliament on Tuesday voted by a comfortable margin to remove Mr. Shokin. In the final hours before Parliament voted him out, Mr. Shokin had fired. Check this out. This is the part I love of this article. Thank you, Glenn Beck, for being such a dipshit and so slapdash with your understanding of fucking everything that you make me go back and look at the news that came out at the time. In the final hours before Parliament voted him out, Mr. Shokin had fired his reform-minded deputy prosecutor, David Sakoridlidze, with whom he had been feuding. It was not immediately clear whether that firing would remain in force. With the prosecutor's office in turmoil throughout Ukraine on Tuesday, one of Mr. Sakoridlidze's appointees in the Odessa regional office was arrested by military prosecutors assumed to be loyal to Mr. Shokin. They don't talk about this. After Shokin was fired, they arrested a bunch of people that were in on the scheme with him, including the diamond prosecutors. We'll get to that. And that's, by the way, that's a phrase I just want you to drop in the lap of anybody who's bringing up this poor little Shokin, right? Getting his ass kicked. Diamond prosecutors. Just remember that phrase, and that'll key your mind to this moment where your buddy Hal's bringing up some shit that you can help. All right. David Sakoridlidze. All right. Foreign donors, and by the way, foreign donors too, had complained about the rot in the prosecutor's office, not least because much of the money suspected being stolen was theirs. So remember how I told you that Hunter Biden was hired to sit on the board of Burisma and just fucking sit there and make sure the money we invest in this fucking country doesn't go anywhere, doesn't go to Russia, where it was being sucked out and funneled to. That's all his job was. Devin Archer and Hunter Biden and Shemp Biden and Archer Daniels Midland Jr. the third and all the people at Rosemont Seneca, their fucking job was to check the books on behalf of the investors. That's it. They didn't have to know shit about stuff. If they had a fucking phone call about it, they could call any number of people who are experts and, hey, can you check the figures on this? Is this about how much 1,600, yards of metal tubing costs? And they go, yeah, that's about it. Where'd they get it from? Oh, they ordered it from here. Yeah, that's the plant we go to. Like that kind of shit. But the point is that Hunter Biden couldn't grab the money and fuck off like the other people had done, which, by the way, at this point, Shokin was already in the process of doing. Okay, so foreign donors, I love this, had complained about rot in the prosecutor's office, not least because much of the money suspected of being stolen was theirs. In one high-profile example, known in Ukraine as the case of the diamond prosecutors, troves of diamonds, cash, and other valuables were found in the homes of two of Mr. Shokin's subordinates, suggesting they had been taking bribes. But the case became bogged down with no reasons given. When a department in Mr. Shokin's office tried to bring it to trial, the prosecutors were fired or resigned. Guess who can fire people? Just guess who can fire people in that office? Shokin. Magically, the people who were supposed to investigate, they in Ukraine they call it the diamond prosecutors. But the case became bogged down with no reasons given. When a department in Mr. Shokin's office tried to bring it to trial, the prosecutors were fired or resigned. The perpetrators seemed destined to get off with claims that the stones were not worth very much. For many Ukrainians, the case encapsulated a failure to follow through on the sweeping promises made during the heady days of the revolution to root out corruption and establish a modern, transparent state. Instead, there seemed to be a return to business as usual horse trading and compromise among the tightly knit Ukrainian oligarchic and business elite. Since his appointment a year ago, and again, Shokin came in with Poroshenko after Yanukovych was broomed out. He used to work for Yanukovych too. Mr. Shokin had been criticized for not prosecuting officials, businessmen, and members of the parliament for their roles in corrupt schemes during the government of former President Viktor Yanukovych. He also did not press cases for sniping by the police and opposition activists during the street protests in 2014 that killed more than 100 people and wounded about 1,000. So the snipers that were Paul Manafort's brain fart that killed Ukrainians on the Euromaidan, they were not prosecuted because Shokin ran interference on the people that were hired to shoot Ukrainians during the revolution by the guy who would eventually be Donald Trump's campaign manager. Hey, Glenn Beck. Hold on one second. Fuck you! All right, back to where I was. I don't know why this is... Now, we continue. To a certain extent, analysts say, accommodations of this sort are necessary if the government is to get anything done in Parliament, because supporters of the Yanukovych government remain a political force in Ukraine, coalesced around the opposition Black Party, with a C, not a CK, because that would be a party like nobody parties like a Black Party does in Ukraine. It represents Russian-speaking southeastern areas of Ukraine and the former elite whose supporters in Parliament, President Petro Poroshenko, needs to push through reforms to try and implement a peace accord with Russia. Again, a peace accord with Russia. You've got to let Shokin fuck around with your system, or we're not going to, sign off on the Minsk agreement stuff that we never lived up to anyways. There are prices the new political establishment has to pay. Timothy Milyanov, president of the Kiev School of Economics, said in an interview. How do they pay? They guarantee some security for their opponent's business interests. Shokin, we be Shokin, was kicked out because he would hold the investigations of people that he was friendly with or were paying him to do it and go after other people who were trying to run, their companies legit. That's it. And everybody knew it. March 29th, 2016, this is the fucking article. This came as a fucking surprise to no one. So anytime somebody's bringing up this whole, like, they wanted to, like, poor Victor Shokin, just tell him to go look up Ukrainian diamond prosecutors and the fact that they were direct subordinates under Shokin and that Shokin stopped the investigation into them. And then tell me, this guy was just an innocent victim. Instead of abso-fucking-lutely, look, if you want $1 billion more, bounce this motherfucker. This is nuts. He's running a graft scheme all over the fucking country. All of his direct subordinates are taking bribes. They're being found with diamonds and cash. Same fucking year, by the way. The diamond prosecutor thing was like, it was just recent. He'd only been in there a year. Shokin had been in the office from like 2015 to 2016, and already his direct hires, the people that were working with him that he'd brought along, had been found with diamonds, cash, and a fucking Kalashnikov. A fucking machine gun. Jesus Christ. Like, this isn't even the kind of bribery where we're like, okay, a little bit of you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. It was like, yeah, put the diamonds in the fucking bag. Like, diamond prosecutors, just to float that around. Now, yeah, this is the story of that, by the way. Here we go. I'll blow this up a little bit. Ukraine corruption probe. This is from July 6th, 2015. So all these dates kind of matter. Remember how they're like, a week later, Biden shows up, and all of a fucking sudden, he's telling people to get rid of this fucking guy. Well, this was the news at the time. This was well known. Biden was in charge of bringing this money over. We'd agreed with this. We're talking to the IMF, and this story fucking breaks. July 6, 2015. 2 high-ranking Ukrainian judicial officials have been detained on suspicion of corruption, and a large quantity of diamonds, $400,000 in cash, and a Kalashnikov were found during raids on their homes, Ukraine's SBU security service said on Monday. The officials, a deputy chief of the investigative arm of the General Prosecutor's Office, and the deputy prosecutor for the Kiev region, are accused of extorting bribes from a sand company after seizing its equipment. They have not been identified. Now, the sand company thing is fucking hilarious. And this is exactly the kind of corruption that Burisma was arguably paying off and having to deal with just to exist. This is fucking, this is great. The government is at pains to show it is sparing no efforts to carry out painful reforms and stamp out deep-rooted corruption. In exchange, the West has promised billions in financial aid to help the near-bankrupt economy recover from years of mismanagement and a conflict with Russian-backed separatists in the East. A photo released by the security services show SBU officers in camouflage fatigues and black balaclavas breaking into a safe during the raids, others showing hundreds of $100 bills laid out on the floor after the search, alongside gold jewelry, pearls, and boxes of bullets. The SBU said officers found $400,000 in cash, a significant amount of jewelry, 65 diamonds, and a Kalashnikov. Through intermediaries, the prosecutors demanded and received Hrvenia equipment of $150,000 for their help in returning the equipment to the sand company. So basically, they held their equipment hostage and said, you got to give us $150,000 or we won't let it. We're basically going to impound your business and you can pay us to take the impound off. That's what it was. This is just one case where they busted them. They were tied to a bunch of other things. And the Burisma stuff was very similar, except that, like, the money was just gone. Everybody knew it. Nice, Ali Osher. We need to continue, and this is again, we need to continue decisive efforts to eradicate corruption at the highest levels of government. That would be the top of their effective Justice Department, and that would be Shokin, as opposed to the underlings that are carrying out the bribe scheme that he's operating. Petro Poroshenko told security chiefs following the prosecutor's detention, his press service reported. Again, what Glenn is quoting is this, which is the proposed conditions, which they're like, so far so good, but, and then right as they were about to give this this extra $1 billion, this happened more than any other factor. I don't give a rat fuck that if, because I think one of the reasons why they're like, look, Shokin, we've got this dude on a short fucking leash, but if they bring in somebody else, they might look where, Zalewski might go, I don't like where they're going to look, or they might go after me, or they might want more money. The next guy might be twice as corrupt as the last. I have no faith in Poroshenko appointing somebody fucking decent, right? So, again, you're fucking welcome. All right, so please continue with your absolute bullshit, Glenn.
It was a generally rosy assessment of Ukraine's pace of reforms.
Ooh. Notice how he's playing fast and loose. Ukraine's pace of reform, the whole country. There were a couple of areas. The general pace was good, but there were some hangups, namely the fucking prosecutor general.
According to the efforts of Shokin's prosecutor general's office.
Oh, so they said this themselves? Everybody loves what we're doing. I don't know about you. Is that your case now? Is that Shokin's press person releases a statement that like, oh, I don't know what, they're not, why are you looking at me? Fuck out of here.
They noted that Shokin just...
Also, I don't know what the fuck he's reading from, and so I don't even know if he's reading it right.
A few months on the job had already established a special national and anti-corruption prosecutor's office.
Because they had to. He didn't establish it. That was an order from Poroshenko and the fucking parliament. He didn't come up with the fucking idea.
Office to aid newly reformed FBI approved investigative unit called the National Anti-Corruption Bureau.
Yeah. And why did the FBI have to approve that? Why? It's America. Who was president then? Who was in charge of giving a shit on behalf of the American taxpayer?
Now, we told you that we had a problem with that. I did.
Reading?
Because that was a joint effort from the United States and George Soros.
I see. So because George Soros was involved in the anti-corruption stuff, yeah, I don't understand. Other than just you hate his name and Super Jew, you got to drop. Does he have to like, that when they made CSI Miami, they actually shot it in Huntington Beach, California, but the international investors in the show and the people who wanted to buy it said you got to have at least 2 big wide shots of the cast in Miami to sell it to the rest of the world that this is really happening in Miami. So they have to go down there and shoot those things. Otherwise, we're not buying the fucking episode. Unless we see you walking around and there's bikini chicks in the background, there's some fucking sandy beaches. I'm not buying this dumb shit, Star Trek cardboard set version of Miami. No way. And so they had to do it. They had to fly down there on the regular and film scenes down there. You think Glenn Beck has to say like Super Jew, George Soros, just like drop it on the regular, or the Blaze advertisers will pull funding?
So now, do we have anything about George Soros and what he was saying? Because he's the co-founder, along with the United States of America, of this new anti-corruption.
Right. So either it wanted something, and so if it's just direction from Soros, and Soros is like this puppet master, then why do you? And they would want to get rid of Shokin in theory. Why would Biden need to be bribed to do what he's told by Soros, according to you? Or they want to keep Shokin? So does that make him a bad guy in your eyes now, because anybody attached to Soros would be a fucking what? This is a no-win situation for Captain Dum Dum.
So we actually do have something.
Great. What do you have?
Let me see if I can find it here.
Yeah, find it. I'm waiting with bated breath.
EU praising more on the EU. I mean, they just praise.
No, they didn't. They praised Ukraine.
And then you get to the Soros
yeah.
information.
Yeah,
and
get to
Soros also.
Yeah, you get to it. Yeah, we all see what you're looking at. What the fuck is this, Glenn? You got all those goddamn screens? Stu, stop being an asshole. Stop just like polishing a seat with your ass. Tell the guy in the booth to use the screens behind him to show what the fuck Glenn is looking at sometimes. I run this little rinky-dink space station myself with some stream decks and a mouse and some love. And even I can show my fucking homework like this. Why in the shit? See how easy that is? Fuck is wrong with you? Oh, you know what? It's my fault. I blame me. Because I think what it is that Glenn has built the Blaze and built his career on 4 little tiny words. Take my word for it. I'm throwing for it together. Take my word for it. That'd be 5. Very tired. Right? Just take my word for it. You don't have to look it up. I have to look at all this evidence. It's right here in front of me. You can't see it. Well, then fuck it. I have Glenn Beck's laptop right here in front of me. You can't see it. It's just off screen. But trust me, it's fucked up. Yeah, it's full of horrible, horrible things. He does the most horrible things.
Also said, his group said that he was meeting all of the benchmarks and...
Wait, so this is the point we're at where you're taking George Soros's word for him meeting all the benchmarks. Okay, first of all, him meeting all the benchmarks, bullshit. Ukraine was meeting the benchmarks until they weren't. And again, the benchmarks were for the previous ones, and then they're working their way up. And eventually, if they meet all of them, we'll give them the next round. And they didn't, because Shokin was still in office.
Was doing a great job. So now wait. Did I write that down with, piss that in the snow? Where is that? Show me George Soros's fucking memo. The office is getting hot because I'm... Just to return to our original programming. Glenn Beck, if you've just joined us, is reading a memo allegedly from George fucking Soros that he's like, see, he must be a good guy. Soros likes him. What the fuck? Are your feet freezing too? Oh yeah. So I see. That's what we're going. Jimmy, whoops, I can't do that. Oh shit. I gotta turn this on. Hold on. It's the... now I gotta fix... There you go. We go back to here. JB, put up on the screen how the checklist that I have about 60 ways to leave George Soros. You walk out the back, Jack E. Smith. What you talking about, Willis? That was a fever dream again. I need more ivermectin. Shit. Wait
for what, fucko? You're reading off screen, and you're not even citing what you're talking about.
Oh, one more thing. Also,
No. You don't have one more thing. You don't have anything right now. Just yammering from a list of talking points you have in your fucking lap does nothing for this conversation. Especially when I wouldn't be this pissed. I normally wouldn't be this upset. Normally I'm okay with this, I must say. But... I was promised, like my viewers were, new evidence that proves Biden lied about Ukraine corruption. I don't want to hear you fucking reading from a list off screen with black screens behind you, you dipshit.
phone call. The phone call to Joe Biden, it was all taped from Poroshenko, that is the head guy of Ukraine at
the head guy, the big cheese. You're the big cheese now, the head honchos, numero uno honcho. Look at all those lights, they're beeping and flashing and beeping. I can't take it anymore.
the time, telling Joe Biden in an audio tape, okay, we don't have any information on these corruption charges. We don't have any corruption charges standing against this guy.
Right. Of course you don't. He's the prosecutor general. That wasn't the question, dumb fuck. Now, Poroshenko gets an excuse because his English is not his first language. But, and I don't know what the fuck Glenn talks for a living. I don't know what that gibberish is called or what brand of gibberish he's, it's, I need my sonic decoder ring to figure out his version of fucking Pig Latin. But when Biden was talking to him, you don't have to. The point isn't that you have to open investigation against your guy who isn't opening investigations or is bribing people. You do too. First of all, you absolutely fucking do because of this. God damn it. He's like, we don't have anything against this guy. Two of his biggest subordinates were just found with guns and diamonds and money and cash in a scheme to defraud everybody, you fucking chump. Of course you do. But, and then, I'm going to calm down. I'm fine. I'm going to be all right. I'm holding it together. But the point wasn't you guys need to bring charges against this guy. It's like, have a vote on him. You said you're going to have a vote on him. Have a vote on him. Get him the fuck out of there. Because even the parliament wants this dude bounced.
You're not providing us any information. We have no information on.
Bullshit. By the way, he's making this up out of whole cloth. And if Poroshenko said anything close to this, Poroshenko is bullshitting at a time when that story about the diamond prosecutors was breaking.
On why he is suddenly...
Right. For the record, if I'm getting the timing right, because he gets fired in March and the other prosecutors get busted in July, right? So as soon as he's out of there, they bust two of his direct subordinates, his head of investigations. Fucking hell. Victor Shokin's head of investigations was one of the guys that was arrested with diamonds and $400,000 in cash, guns, and boxes of bullets. Meanwhile, over here.
Offensive to the United States.
Bullshit! It's just so much bullshit at one moment, Mr. I don't understand. I can't figure out what he's saying. It's clearly some kind of alien language. We're going to have to get my translator's broken. I don't understand.
But I asked him to resign. Can we get our $1 billion?
By the way, no. He was voted out. Get that part right. That's the other part. Everybody talks about it. So 2 things you need to remember about Shokin whenever this shit comes up. Anyway, diamond prosecutors, and he was voted out by Parliament.
Joe said yes. So you have the president on tape with our vice president saying, we have no information. We have nothing, but you're holding the $1 billion. And so, I mean, I guess we're going to fire him. But we'd like the information because we don't know why we're firing him.
And then just shortly thereafter, they announced that they had busted his dudes with diamonds and money and bribery scheme, and he wasn't pursuing investigations. It had been a problem for a long time. This is just bullshit. Like the idea that Glenn Beck wants to wipe the dew off of Victor Shokin's ass every fucking day is absurd.
Because the State Department, the White House, George Soros, and the EU all said the guy was doing a great job.
No, they did not.
Right before he got on the plane.
No, they did not.
Guys.
Somebody's been snorting Don Jr.'s stash.
What else does anyone need?
I would like, here's a good idea, just for starters. How about you take whatever the fuck you're reading, give us reference points, put the fucking links in the description, and then we can check for ourselves if you're just talking out of your... It's a crazy thought. You know what? Fuck me. I don't even know why I brought it up. That was silly. I'm a silly person. That's all. I'm just a silly person at this point. I don't even know why I expect... Why would anybody... Jamie, bring up that thing about why I keep asking... What is the definition of insanity again? There was a thing about it. Like the guy... Remember the guy who started MK Ultra is the same guy that defined insanity? or whatever. I don't know. Because I was going to plead insanity just to get out of work tomorrow, out of my Spotify contract, and yet keep the money. So can you put that up on the big screen? Jamie, put that up on the big screen. All right.
When this stuff actually starts to be in a trial of some sort.
Of some sort. Yes, it will be laughed out of court. And by the way, a trial of some sort, what he means is a committee hearing. That he, like, they're already having it. Motherfucker, they've had all this shit for years. Here's the problem I have. How do you can't have a January 6th committee kind of thing where they do it on prime time and go, aha, the way the Democrats did, because the Democrats stand by the evidence they put on the air. You can't go, ooh, here's a hot mic moment from Joe Biden bragging that he got that Victor Shokin fired 4 weeks before the Ukrainians discovered that the guy was involved in a multi-million-dollar bribery scheme with all of his subordinates, including his head of investigations. What the fuck? What the fuck?
It's over.
Yeah.
It's over.
Oh, it's so over. I'm over this. I'm over this clip.
Because that is, honestly, that's just the beginning.
Dude, well, it can't even be the middle or the end. It would have to be. What's the other part? So your beginning, I would say open with your best shit. If you're trying to make a case like this, extraordinary charges require extraordinary evidence, perhaps.
We now also have new evidence that shows the feds were alerted by Morgan Stanley. They blew the whistle in 2015 and said Hunter Biden and his associates are involved in fraudulent and suspicious transactions.
No, they aren't. Any transaction over $10,000 got flagged after 9/11. It's fucking 9/11. We don't remember that all that shit started? Potential for. They're all flagged for the possibility. They're flagged to look at. It could be anything. It's terrorist money, like anything over $10,000. If you don't believe me, go ask Donald Trump about his $9,999 wire transfers.
Not only did they flag this, but they then elevated.
How many, just real quick, how many other, that year, how many other transactions were flagged? Just a general, ballpark number. How many suspicious activity reports were, like, let's say in 1995 versus 2005? What do you think the over-under is that the ones in 2005 are through the fucking roof?
Because nobody was doing anything. The vice president went from Morgan Stanley and went to the SEC and said, guys, you got to look at there is something really wrong.
Oh, and was he crying? Did he say, sir?
And now through Freedom of Information Act, we now have a presentation that they made to their compliance officers inside Morgan Stanley saying, this is dirty. There is money laundering going on here. Then
where is this presentation? I would love to see it. Also, you're telling me, hold on. Morgan Stanley. Let's give a breakdown. Let's talk about Morgan Stanley for a moment, shall we? No relation to Paul Stanley, who we love. Morgan Stanley. Who's Morgan Stanley? Global leader in financial services. That Morgan Stanley. Morgan with the Stanley. Bring it up. Bring up the page. Here you go. This is the Morgan Stanley website. Hold on. I don't need the Morgan Stanley website. I need the Morgan family, essentials. Like, hey, what's the Morgan Stanley about, like, what they do? Company rundown. Morgan Stanley Wikipedia. Here we go. Okay, here we go. Let me go to this page, if I may. All right. Morgan Stanley is an American multinational investment bank and financial services company headquartered at 1585 Broadway in Midtown Manhattan, New York City, with offices in 41 countries, more than 75,000 employees. The firm's clients include corporations, governments, institutions, and individuals. Ranked number 61 in 2021's Fortune 500 list of the largest U.S. Corporations by total revenue. Let's see what that is. Yeah, the revenue is $53.7 billion last year. Operating income, $14.1 billion. And I'm supposed to believe that they did a stop the presses over $8 million. Yeah, it sounds like they're fucking really scared.
And we also have one more piece from
Yes, you do. Okay.
the Washington Examiner. We now know
From the Washington Examiner. Well, you've got my attention there.
that one of Joe Biden's emails suggest a close Biden family associate, somebody who was named in the warnings by Morgan Stanley and who was working with Hunter Biden, went to work under David Weiss.
Ah, that's what. Aha. Under? How far under? Where? In Delaware? Like, Jesus Christ. Okay. Here's an idea. He was working at Morgan Stanley, and he was like, actually, these guys are okay. I'm going to go get a job in Delaware. It seems like a good place to make a living, raise a family. Everybody seems nice. I don't know where that article is. He doesn't cite it. That's one of the annoying parts about this, because he's like, huh? About nothing. Let's see. Washington Examiner. Let's see. Morgan Stanley, Biden, Weiss, something like that. Hunter Biden investigated. Weiss was May still. Washington Examiner, October 2022. It's the news. Hunter Biden investigated. Hunter Biden investigation. Weiss may still testify to Congress despite DOJ roadblocks. David Weiss, secret grand jury. Hunter Biden investigation emails suggest former Weiss. Oh, here you go. This is the helped. Yeah, here you go. Suggest. All right. I was hoping. My hopes were all for. I mean, this is. It suggests a smoking gun. Redacted emails from then Vice President Joe Biden's office suggest a close Biden family associate who went on to work under Delaware U.S. Attorney David Weiss was involved in conversations about how to shape stories related to Hunter Biden's work for Ukrainian company Burisma. Alexander Mackler was a legal counsel to Joe Biden at the time, so this would be part of his job. He later spent years working in the Delaware U.S. Attorney's office. Okay. Including during the first few months of the Hunter Biden criminal investigation. Right, where your problem is it dragged on and nobody worked on it. So when did he leave? In one December 18, 2015 email, recently released by the National Archives, Mackler and Joe Biden's then communications director, Kate Bedingfield, appeared to discuss a story playlist today about Hunter Biden's role in Burisma. The entire email was redacted by the Biden administration in the days leading. That's because he was a legal counsel. Here's discuss the story, blah, blah, blah. In the days leading up to the unflattering New York Times story, and another one, the one where he said, it's coming out and I think you're going to be fine. The messages came under fresh scrutiny Wednesday when Comer sent a letter to the National Archives. Nobody cares. Comer said the National Archives presently has the ability to withhold any emails it seems unrelated to Joe Biden's business as vice president, meaning some communications with Hunter Biden's business associates may have already been withheld from the tranches of email and da-da-da. However, at least some of the messages do show close coordination between Joe Biden's political aides and Hunter Biden's business. At least some, like what? Again, this would be so fucking easy. For example, this one. Emails from early December 2015 show Bedingfield working with Eric Schwerin, one of Hunter Biden's closest business partners, to come up with a response from the then Vice President's office to reporters who were asking about Burisma. We saw this. This is the one fucking email about, does this work? And the president Biden's like, the VP has signed off on this. Like, we need some talking points. Tell us what are you doing over there? I'm not going to talk to you about it. We're not going to, because the minute Biden sits down and just has a meeting with Hunter Biden, like, tell me about your business, son, and we got to discuss this because people keep asking me questions. He's going to catch deep shit. So he had a comms director talk to another comms director. Right. And that's private emails, whatever. Private emails from Hunter Biden's laptop show that Schwerin was coordinating with a Burisma executive, Hunter Biden, and other business partner, Devin Archer, at the same time he was working out a response with Joe Biden's office. Right, but he wasn't working in the office at the time. or they were talking about it. That was kind of the point. Whatever. During a court hearing over Hunter Biden's now withdrawn plea deal in July, Schwerin was described as most significant professional relationship. Mackler's inclusion in hold on, I'm going to blow this up so you guys can see some of this shit because the type is so small. Mackler's inclusion in sensitive internal conversations about Hunter Biden's Burisma work in 2015 is about the messaging of it. Is significant because he went on to work with the prosecutorial team conducting a criminal investigation of that same work. Well, we'll see. The criminal investigation, which began at the IRS in 2018, was under Weiss's supervision by at least January 2019. Examined the details of Hunter Biden. Okay, we know that. Starting in 2014, what they did, it is unclear whether Mackler recused himself from the Hunter Biden case before he left Weiss's office in May of 2019. Well, I think leaving is one of the best ways to recuse yourself. Wouldn't you say? Even joking with Hunter Biden and swearing about email policy at Weiss's office on his first day of work there in 2016. National Archives emails about Hunter Biden's work are also significant because of when they were sent. In December 2015, Joe was heading for Ukraine for high-profile meetings with Ukrainian leaders. He delivered a speech in Kiev. He called for Ukraine to do more to fight corruption. Some of the press coverage surrounding his visit focused on how Hunter Biden's position. Yeah, nobody cares. Mackler was privately in contact with Hunter Biden during. Yeah, this is messaging shit. Who cares? Reached out using a private email address and asked Hunter Biden to offer his thoughts on what Joe might do with his post-presidency. Again, who gives a fuck? People can talk about you behind your back. Good Lord. I have part of BlackRock. I do. Is that because you can't do the Soros thing now because that's faded? Why would I have part of BlackRock? Again, that's large pension accounts. You probably do, though. I don't know if you have a pension or if you had one. Mackler was privately in contact with Hunter Biden during that time. We had a troll in here and whatever. It's nice to say hi to the trolls. We miss them. Was privately in contact with Hunter during that time, even as he continued his role in the vice president's office. In November 2015, for example, he reached out, private, asking what he's going to do after. Okay. On the days in, like, is he going to run? He's probably not going to run. Has he talked to you? On the days in early September 2015, a flurry of emails swirled on how to handle negative press. We know this. Biden was in Dubai, blah, blah, blah. His schedule shows during that visit to Dubai, they called the DC stuff, right? Archer at first testified that Hunter Biden and Burisma execs stepped away from the meeting to call Joe Biden, but Archer's lawyer later instructed him to clarify that he was unsure whether it was specifically then vice president, right? Because he didn't know. Yeah, this is PR shit. I don't care about PR shit. And at this point, when you're talking about emails suggest, like, dude, for fuck's sake, get over yourself. Now, back to whatever this nonsense is.
And he was involved in the conversations on how to shape the stories.
Right. So what? It's PR conversation. And legally, what you can say that's true and what would be over the line and not true. Describe what you said, and we'll, here's how to say it legally true and really true and all that kind of, like, of course, you're the vice president. Okay. These guys, like, this idea that people should freeball it like Trump did.
Related to Hunter Biden's work for Burisma. So the guy eventually investigating, who's, he's totally clean. He has he's got all the power in the world to do whatever he wants. Well, is apparently what he wanted was one of Hunter Biden's apparently corrupt workers and
Whoa, why apparently corrupt? What the fuck did he do? Nobody's asserted that he was ever corrupt. It's emails of him going, like, what do you think your dad's going to do after this is all over? When he's not president anymore, vice president anymore? Is he going to run for president? Is he going to do into business? What do you guys do? What's up? Like, that's the most of it? Dude. Whatever.
Good friend of the Biden family.
Eek.
Was involved with his office trying to shape the narrative.
No, he was actually advising, not trying to shape the narrative. He was tasked with coming up with the statement. Period. And by the way, on archived emails in fucking public.
And it only gets worse.
It would have to, because this is ass.
I mean, those are the highlights. If you don't...
That's the highlights. Okay. I'm very disappointed. very disappointed.
If you don't have my show prep every day,
I do not.
please get it. It's free. It's at glennbeck.com. All these stories and so much more.
Oh yeah, so much more at glennbeck.com. I have no doubt. I don't know if you guys know this. Oh, I'll show you here. Hold on one second. There's some amazing stuff over there. I was amazed to find when you go to glennbeck.com the amount of stuff. Well, here it is. I don't know what the fuck's wrong with their first page. First of all, even his fiction is fiction. Dark Future, Great Reset, Klaus Schwab, Biden, and Bill Gates in front of a big thing to make it look as much like a Clancy novel as possible. This is just watch my fucking videos. Radio, TV, books, charity events. There's one other thing that's not listed up in here. Let me see if I can find this. Go to this one. Oh, real estate. That's what I was looking at. Yeah. You think all he does is bullshit? Can you imagine buying a fucking house from this dickhead after what I just ran you through on how much flim-flam's involved in him just reading stories out loud? Your Honor, look. There's a cute... that's a word I use to say mold. When I say black mold, it scares off the buyer. So I use phrases like cozy because it's got kind of a fuzz to it that grows in the corners. You know, his sharp corners can be off-putting. But when the rooms are covered in black mold in the corners or whatever, that's just an extra special thing, whatever. And he's got people like Pat and Dave Rubin sitting on his titties. I don't know why, who sign off, who are part of his real estate team. Real stories from real people buying real estate. That's right, Glenn Beck. Come on now. Come on down here and live on the compound. I have no fucking idea. So weird.
But warning, there's nothing worse than an animal that's been backed into a corner.
Shit. Is that what you are now? Tough guy? The fuck? Yeah, there is. How about this, dickhead? An animal that's backed you into a corner. That's kind of scarier. Imagine there's an animal in the corner. You're like, oh, yeah, we might be careful. He might nip. Everybody be careful. So, all right, let's get your gloves. Go get some oven mitts. There's a bat in the house. Versus, oh, fuck. I think that's exactly worse. Directly worse. What an idiot.
We're going to have to stand up, square our shoulders, speak the truth, and hold on to the Republic.
Hold on to the Republic. By the short and curlies. Shut the fuck up.